The supply issue of homes is going to be a problem, even though active listings are up by 30% compared to where they were in June. That doesn't even come close to meeting the demand.
Well, that's true, right? Even though that's a shocking stat, right? Like, and that's the way media works, and that's the way the industry works. You throw up a stat that says new home inventory up by 30%. People are going to, be like, oh, here it comes. But let's put that in perspective. A balanced buyer-seller market, by most people, most professional opinions, is going to be about 6 months worth of inventory, right? And
Yes.
where are we at today? We're at about 4 months worth of inventory,
Right.
So we're still not even over that. We haven't hit the median yet to be considered a balanced buyer-seller's market. What I think we're experiencing in the form of, depreciation are those homes that, like, let's say that home that was listed and sold, we're now in the third quarter of 2022. And if we looked at comparable homes that were on the market in Q3 of 2021 and what they sold for, I'd say the majority of them sold for over the listing price.
Absolutely.
That's what has been vacated or sucked out of the market. Prices they're being listed, and you're seeing more pricing reductions before they actually sell. So you have this massive swing from overpayment into maybe the market's just correcting itself and bringing it back to where it's going to be, which I think is where it's going to stabilize. Right? Once we get to that 6 month of inventory, and that's going to be where prices are going to kind of rest for a while.
Well, I mean, that's a good point. Like, how many homes in that statistic, that active listing statistic, are listed over market value? Right?
Yeah. I think we still got a lot of realtors out there that are like swinging for the fences and then having to, reset expectations after sitting on the market for 45 days with one offer. Right. Like the pendulum's swinging back the other way. Right. We're not there yet. We haven't hit a median yet, but we're moving that direction. And, moving from where we were maybe Q3, even Q4 of last year to where we're at now, that might look more painful. But I think once we hit that equilibrium of a 6 month inventory, that's where prices are going to settle in at. So maybe, you see anywhere from 5 as much as 15%, pricing reductions year over year in certain markets. I think that's where it's going to probably settle.
And that number's, even for me, that number's really high. I feel personally that the market itself isn't going to have more than a 5% reduction in overall value based on what I'm seeing now, even year after year over year going into next year, just because of those factors we talked about earlier. Homes being an asset class, hedge funds buying, people who do own their homes having extremely low interest rates and not wanting to sell and move into another house at a higher interest rate. That's going to keep people staying put and not moving.
Because if people are buying, they're most often selling, and they're not going to want to, if they're selling, they're doing so for the purpose of upgrading. Right, but they're going to look at the cost to upgrade and the financing and everything involved in that, and they're just going to be like, no, we're good. We're going to stay here. We got our 2.5% interest rate on a 30-year fix. We're good. We'll ride this out. But I mean, I think it's interesting times overall on from an investor strategy. I think at the end of the day, the great equalizer is always going to be supply and demand. Like, if I'm an investor and I'm trying to predict where housing prices are going, or is now a good time to buy, or do I need a sideline and wait? I think you look at that statistic of inventory, listing times, pricing reductions. And you might be able to wait a little while, right? Like, you might be able to wait 3, 6, 9 months and wait for that perfect spot where it bottoms out. But along the way, you're now competing with big institutional money, hedge funds coming in. Like I said, they don't give a shit if it goes from, it drops 10% between now and then, because they have a much longer term strategy. Right, they're fighting a 50-year war, as where most people are coming in and trying to figure out the next 12 months or 5 years even. So you have new competition in that space. I think it's one of those things like, do your due diligence, check your numbers. Are you buying in a good market? Are you experienced? Do you have the guts to do this? And if you do, talk to a good lender, figure out a good financing strategy, that allows you to use your capital or use other people's capital to buy this asset class and create a business.